Before your city replaces its water pipes, get informed. Some materials like PVC come with hidden health risks. Learn more at informedwaterchoices.com.
If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Be Fierce and Try. My name's Jill Bartholomew, a head coach at Be Fierce Multisport, and I am here with two lovely ladies who competed at IRONMAN World Championships in Kona last weekend, Cheryl and Jen. So I'll let you guys introduce yourself.
Sure. Cheryl Bergeron. This was my first time competing in Kona. This was my 9th overall Ironman full distance, and I've done about 22, 23 half distances. Been competing for about 10 years, but this was certainly an amazing dream come true for me. And yeah, that's about it.
All right.
I live in New York, and it's hard to train here, but got it done.
And Jen?
Yeah, so my name's Jen. I live in the UK on the South Coast. It was my second time at Ironman Worlds in Kona, and I did Nice Worlds last year as well. So this was my 6th Ironman. And I only recently, it was about 6 years ago, I got into triathlon. So I haven't been doing it that long, but it's been an incredible journey. And I'm now an Ironman U certified coach along with Jill. And yeah, had the best weekend in Kona.
And, fun fact about Jen is she also has a podcast. And
I do.
She got some very fun guests on there too.
Yeah, I do. I'll do a quick plug of, sorry, this is competing with you, Jill, but it's called The Toughest Finish Line, and we do different things. So it's
We do. We approach it from very, very different angles. So all three of us did Kona. I was super excited to go. So let's talk about just getting there, right? It's like a lot of the listeners, are triathletes, and a lot aren't. Traveling with a bike across, Cheryl, you and I were both from the U.S., but we could not go from further places in the U.S. and still be in the U.S., right? You, New York, me, Philadelphia. And Jen, you got the whole intercontinental thing going on. So just traveling with the bike, it's a pain in the butt, right?
the anxiety massively builds up because you wave your bike off and you think, am I going to see it again? And am I going to see it at the right time and the right place? And then you see the handlers throwing it on the conveyor belt and you're like, that's my baby. Please look after it.
I have to ask, are you using a hard case, like a Bike Box Allen?
Yeah, I rent a Bike Box Allen. I should have just bought one from the beginning because it probably would have saved me money. But I rent it for the week to just protect the bike a bit more with the hard case.
That's an option for you guys in the UK.
Yeah.
I guess there's a couple of places that do, and they're really expensive. Yeah. It's like $600 plus $600 in shipping. Yeah, it's like twice the price. It's actually cheaper to fly to the UK, pick it up, and bring it back. The airfare is less than the shipping.
Wow. Yeah. I'm shipping it over. I mean, for me, I'm super lucky that I have one of the hubs about 10 minutes away from my house, so I can just go and pick it up from nearby. Yeah, shipping it over would be quite a lot of money.
Have you guys noticed the hard case, the Bike Box Allens, it seems like they just throw them around. The ones that are soft cases, they handle really delicately. I first noticed this in Florida last year. They were bringing out one by one, very, very politely and delicately and carefully all of the Siam bags, and the Bike Box Allens, they were just throwing down the conveyor belt.
Well, I fly out of Newark Airport. They throw everything.
Well, yeah,
So
that's Newark. That's Newark.
They're not careful.
Yeah, yeah. But knowing that, when I'm packing the bike box, Alan, it's like all the straps in there. I'm like, okay, make sure it's super tight and everything's got like bubble wrap around it, and make sure it gets there, and knock on wood. We've been lucky, but yeah, it's so stressful because a lot of airports don't scan the bag tags on them either. So it shows up. You don't see it show up on the thing until it's loaded on the plane,
Yeah.
where everything else has like 20 scans between when you check it in and when it's on the plane.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, so my bike actually has almost like an air tag in the pedals, which is incredible. And I was literally sat on the plane refreshing
wait,
to make
in
sure
the
that it was on
pedal.
the plane. Yeah, it's super clever. And it was definitely, I was checking it over and over to make sure that it was on the plane. But then you have the issue that they security check it. I don't know if you guys had this. So they open, even if you do pack it so
Yeah,
carefully,
yeah. Yep.
they open it up. And my wheel was actually only attached by one strap after they'd repacked it. And it doesn't seem like they have as much care packing it back in the box after they checked it.
Yeah, yes. So I find that interesting. Like in the UK and the US, they manually go through the boxes, and it's like every box they go through. Where, when I've flown out of France, I flew out of Brussels airport a few weeks ago. Both of those, they just put it through an X-ray machine that was big enough for it to fit through. And then on the way back in Kona, they're just like, "Do you have any CO2 cartridges?" I'm like, "No." They're like, "Okay, good, thumbs
No.
up." I'm like, if that's all you're looking for, then please tell me because I can answer that. I've had some success in Philly asking to be present when they inspect it, to repack it. Like, never hurts to ask. And sometimes they're like, yes. I had one guy, he's like, all right. I mean, I don't see the harm. And then he opened, he's like, oh, this isn't just a mountain bike. Nah. He's like, I think this is worth more than my car. I'm like, probably.
Probably.
He's like, you can't repack it, but you can instruct me on how to repack it. I'm like, okay, that strap needs to be tight. So like that was good, but I'd say like 50-50 on that so far in the last 2 years. And the only airport that's actually said no to me is Philadelphia. Yeah. So, and Cheryl, you said you're flying out of Newark.
Yes, but my bike, I actually used Bike Sherpa,
Okay.
race day wheels guy,
Mhm.
because when we used to fly to races, we would try to use Tri Bike Transport. I brought my bike to Puerto Rico one year, and it was just such a pain. And I was so nervous about the whole carbon fiber thing. I just was too nervous about it. So we've had a lot of luck with Tri Bike Transport, which has now
Mhm.
gone out of business. But then when Mark said he does the Bike Sherpa,
Mhm.
I was all on board with that. Talked to him when we were in Lake Placid, and he was like, well, if we get enough people, we'll do it. And he did. So that's what I did. But the bad news is that you have to send your bike out like 3 weeks in advance. You have to
Right.
drive it across the country and then put it on a container boat.
Yeah. And then they all do they rely on the local bike shop, or do they?
They don't take it apart. It goes fully upright. The only thing I have to do is take the pedals off. Everything else, this is why we love it. It just ships. It's standing up in special stands across the country. And I put my bottles on, my CO2 cartridges stay on. Everything is on. I throw all my nutrition in there into the bottles. I have my bento box on there. I have an air tag in there. So I watched it cross the country.
Right.
And then I knew when it was in Kona. And so I just tracked it the whole time. And so I knew exactly where it was.
Yeah. I find air tags really frustrating. I have 2 air tags in my bike box, one in the box and one in the bike. And it's like they'll hit, and then like 6 hours go by and it'll hit again.
If it's not near an iPhone or several iPhones, it won't know where it is. And so
Right, right,
mine looked like it was hanging out in the port of Los Angeles for like a week and a
right,
half. And then
right.
suddenly it was in
Yeah,
Kona. I was like, oh, I guess it was on the container boat.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that in the airport. We landed in Phoenix, and all the bags have air tags in it.
Yeah.
We landed in Phoenix, and they're like, "We're here." And then we walk to our connecting gate, and then the iPhone comes up with the left.
Yeah.
You left Speed Concept behind. You left 4 bags behind. It's like,
Trust the process. You're lying.
Yes, yes, yes. Trust the process.
Yeah.
Just like an athlete. Okay, so but all of our bikes got there safe
Yeah.
and sound. I only heard of a couple of people who actually had issues getting their bikes there. One girl I know through Betty Squad, Sunny, her bike was a couple of days behind her getting there. Yeah, it seemed like it got there safe and sound. It just took the scenic route to get there. It kind of looked like it might have gotten on the wrong plane, which I felt bad. I'm like, oh my God, that sucks. Like I would be beside myself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this dread, the fear of it not getting there.
Right, especially at Kona. And, Bike Works there was completely sold out of rentals. And so, like, last chance is a rental, and, you're on an island, they got what they got.
Yeah.
So, okay. And when did you guys get there? Jen, when did you get there?
So we only landed the Wednesday before the race on Saturday, so we didn't have long at all to
Yes.
acclimatise.
Yes. And Cheryl, when did you get there?
We got there October 5th, the Sunday before.
Sunday
We were
before.
there a week. Yeah.
Yeah, I got there a couple days before you did. I think it was the second. It was the first or second I got there. That whatever that Tuesday was. I was like, I usually do what you do. I'm like, Tuesday or Wednesday, show up and then hope for the best. And this one, I'm like, no, I care about this one. I'm getting there. I'm not gonna be jet lagged for this race. I'm gonna get some riding in, and turned out I'm now the most tan I've been in my life.
Same.
Yeah, I'm like, I've never been so tan before. All right. So, Kona, I don't know, it was my first time in Kona, and comparing it to Nice last year, it was like such a different vibe. I mean, both were world championships, both were amazing experiences, but like, I don't know. And I heard that, this was like the smallest one they've had in years. And I was expecting it to feel like, a party the whole week, and it kind of was quiet. I was a little surprised. It kind of was quiet until like the day before the race, the day you showed up.
Yeah, I bring the party with me.
You brought the party.
Yeah, you brought the party with you.
Yeah, I do think there's something special. Having done Nice last year, and I loved Nice, but there's something special about Kona, just
Yeah.
the atmosphere. And I think, yes, it felt small, but it's you get to know so many people through it, and actually it just felt like family and a community all meeting up and having a big party. It was brilliant.
Yeah, knowing that, like, I don't know, knowing this was the last women's only race, I felt like it was kind of special to be there this year. And I was surprised it was so small, but kind of was like, this is the last time it's going to be like this. Next year it's going to be bigger, and it's going to be mostly men, and it's going to be a very different experience.
Yeah.
Being nice about it.
I actually thought the days leading up were packed. I mean, we had so much to do. Like I was with two other women in a house, and we just had a full
We had a full, yeah, there was no shortage of stuff to do, but I don't know, like, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was like, we didn't have to wait to get into any restaurants, like not once. We just walked in, got a table, sat down, and I was like, oh, I was expecting like an hour-long wait to get dinner or something. And they're like, no, come in. We got like 5 empty tables, have one.
yeah.
So that
Yeah,
was different.
it definitely is different. I mean, the days, I think people think about like the Ironman Championships as just the race, but as you say, Cheryl, the build up, it's all the events that make it, like the banquets and the shakeout runs. And one thing, landing on the Wednesday, our hotel was right next to the swim start, and going down and just seeing the amount of athletes who were out doing
Yeah.
recce like swims, it was amazing. Just having that atmosphere. Buzz was definitely there.
You stayed at KBR, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were across the street in Pacific 19. And Cheryl, you were a bit out of town, right?
Yeah, we had a house down about 4 miles, like a little past the turnaround, the run turnaround. We were like down by the Magic Sands beach, but it was we constantly saw people running by or riding by, and it built. So we were there since the Sunday before. So every day there were more and more people. We swam almost every morning, so we would drive in, meet up at the swim start. And we did that practice swim. Were you there for the practice swim, Jill? The supported practice
Yeah,
swim?
yeah, I did that.
Yeah, that was
All
awesome.
one all 1.6 miles.
1.6 miles. Yeah.
Yeah, we were standing there in line waiting for it to start, and I said to John, I'm like, "The buoys are moving."
Yeah. Me too.
The red turn buoys, you could see them. They gathered the 2 buoys, and you could see the boat pulling the buoys closer. I'm like, "Why are they reconfiguring the course now?" And then that's when they're like, "We're shortening the course. It's only 1.6 miles. Sorry."
Do we know why they did that? Were there like
Well,
sharks or something?
no, although I won't talk about that. So what they said was that they didn't have enough support
Oh,
to
right.
do the full course, which seemed odd because there was a lot of paddleboarders out there. So like I was really surprised to hear that, but I mean it is what it is. And you don't know, like it could have been boats or medical or whatever. But no, and no surprise, Lucy won that one. I was very happy with my swim at that one, but it was much calmer than on race day.
Much.
Like much calmer.
Yeah.
And we
Every
started
day was much calmer
Yeah,
than
that's
race
true.
day.
So I heard that on race day, the reason why it was so choppy and why it was getting worse was there was a storm a couple miles offshore that was like dumping water, and that's what we were feeling was kind of the effects of the storm heading in.
Yeah.
But yeah, we found that out afterwards. We were at one of the hotels or at dinner or something. One of the people who worked there was like, "Yeah, it was a shame that you guys were swimming then because there was like a massive storm offshore." And I'm like, "Well, that would explain it."
That would be why.
Yeah, yeah. But anyways, so I was gonna ask, Cheryl, if you swam at Magic Sands Beach at all.
We didn't swim. We stood in the water and but I didn't do any like body surfing or anything. I was really kind of very cautious about doing anything before the race.
Yeah, we went down to there was a sailfish had an event down there. Went to with the Betty squad, and like that was cool. You got all these women out there, half of which are in their Betty kit, and it was kind of like just we went out like quarter mile, maybe half a mile. I think I had like recorded like a mile total swim. It was nothing really to write home about. We went out, over, and back. But if you look at the Strava, it's not out, over, and back. It's out and then that way, and then that way,
And that way.
and then that way, and then that way, and then that way, and then that way. And it turned out it was because we were swimming with dolphins.
Uh,
And it had just rained, and we had started out swimming towards the end of the rainbow, which was like right there. It was like I've never seen anything like that before.
Wow.
And then we get out there, and there's like 5 dolphins, and they're jumping out of the water in front of us, and da da da. And we're like, all right, we'll swim over there. And then they swam under us. We're like, all right, we'll swim over there. And so we were like swimming with the dolphins, and like the Strava picture is really hysterical because it's like all over the place. And then I was telling someone later that we swam there, and they're like, "Oh, you shouldn't swim there. There's sharks." And we're like, "You mean dolphins?" And they're like, "No, we saw shark fins." I'm like, "Are you sure they were shark fins and not dolphin fins? Because like a gray fin sticking out of the water." But that was the talk for a couple of days, was the sharks.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was actual sharks or not, but I saw an awful lot of dolphins. Like every time we went out to swim, there was dolphins there. It was so cool.
Yeah.
Well, the
it was-
dolphins you can see because they're very playful. They jump around and
Yeah.
flip and stuff. The sharks, they just swim. So
Wow,
if you saw a fin, it was definitely a shark.
The day before the race, I was very antsy because I wasn't on the bike. I wasn't running. I wasn't swimming. I was like, I'm not doing anything the day before the race. So we got in the car and we went driving south, away from Javi. Yeah, south, down towards Ocean View.
Coffee, like the coffee places.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we managed to find like 3 or 4 state parks and a couple of national parks and like random beaches at the bottom of impossibly steep hills. And one of them, it's like, you must remain 50 yards away from dolphins. And we're like, oops, didn't see that sign earlier in the week. And someone was telling us that, like, yeah, it was because like dolphins used to be like a big thing and like dolphin watching, and they'd go right up to it. And there's just like a lot of bad behaviors. So now they want people to stay away from them. I'm like, well, that's a shame. But hey, they came to us. They broke.
Yeah.
I was
I'm
going
like,
to
they
say, that's
broke
up to the
my
dolphins. That's up to
Yeah.
them.
right. They broke my 50-yard personal space. Okay, so we all swam before. I loved swimming out there. It was so nice.
It was amazing. And we literally landed and went straight for a swim. And there was just a turtle just splashing around at the entrance to the sea swim. And it was, just chilling out. And there was race morning as well when athletes were getting in. Apparently, just after I went in, there was, just a turtle just sat
Yeah,
chilling at the race start.
Yeah, I think it was even on TV.
Yes.
Yeah, my husband took a picture of the turtle or a video and sent it to my son. My son's big into turtles. So anyways, so race day. I don't know about you guys. First, like everything was like so incredibly organized.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I know it's World Championships, but compared to last year, it was like next level organized.
Yeah.
And I loved the fact that our bikes were racked in like real actual bike racks instead of the A-frames. Because like last year, the A-frames were so tall, my front wheel wasn't even on the ground.
Yeah, and mine.
Yeah, there was, well, yeah, I mean, I'm taller than you. My bike's probably bigger than yours, and mine wasn't touching. And they were all just like swaying in the wind, like no one's front wheel was on the ground. Very few road bikes. Last year, I think 2/3 of the field looked like they were road bikes.
Very different course.
Very different course.
Yeah, it's a different course. But still, I was surprised last year at how many road bikes.
I would have brought a road bike to Nice.
I was on a road bike in Nice.
For sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't. And like last year, my logic was you got, 10K of flat, 13 miles a hill, and then 90 miles of rollers or downhill. So I'm like, I'll suffer through those 13. That was my logic, right or wrong.
Yeah.
This year, I'm like, why wouldn't you bring a tri bike? But I thought it was fascinating. So we were in the waiting for everything to open. I was standing there, waiting for the tattoo, and one of the pros was standing next to me, and apparently we were on like the pre-broadcast, and my son texts me. He's like, "Do you know who's standing next to you?" And I'm like, "Yes, yes, I do. Thank you very much." And then I look over and I'm like, "Hi,
Have a good race.
good luck," like a dork. So anyways, in the corral though, like I was surprised at like the spectator behavior. It wasn't all that great. I was in the last start group. So there were people that were like hopping the barriers and, standing on the seawall where they weren't supposed to and trying to get in the bleachers. And the guy who was holding the sign spent more time like yelling at people to get where they're supposed to be than he did talking to the athletes, I think.
Wow, interesting. I hadn't seen any of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, I'm sure you all watched, although Jen, you might have been too far forward. We were watching the pros on the big screen.
I could see the screen, but I couldn't, because we were behind the bleachers, so we couldn't see.
Yeah, no, we were like, we were in the last start group. We were like, in the next town over. So we couldn't hear the commentary, but the video was there, and we're like, wow, they're going slow. Lucy had such a big, developed such a big lead, but we're like, we thought they'd be faster. And that's when we're like, oh, shoot, they're like 2 minutes slower than they normally are.
Yeah.
What does that mean for us?
At least 5 minutes.
So let's talk about the swim. How'd your swims go?
Well, I mean, it's Kona, so it's beautiful. And, the fishes swimming around were incredible. And actually, my wave ran out first. So watching, even though it was quite cloudy, the sun did break over the mountains, which was just beautiful. But yeah, it was pretty brutal with the swell. And I could tell it from, because you swim out to the start. So where we were waiting at the start, I don't know about you, but we were just getting smashed we were hitting into each other because the waves were rolling, that even though you tried to kind of keep still and away from people, it was smashing me. And then I was like, this could be pretty difficult. And it just got worse the further you got out to the turning point. And actually, I saw quite a few people being seasick because it was so bad.
I heard about a lot of people getting seasick. And, I remember thinking to myself, maybe like 3/4 of the way to the first turn buoy, that like, if you're not used to this swimming in the swells, that it'd be so easy to get sick. It was like, there was so much up and down.
Yeah. And it definitely became kind of a fight. Like, when I got to the turn, it was, you're trying to conserve energy as much as you can, but I was having to properly hammer it to get round the corner. It was, not an easy one. And I would say 10 times kind of harder than in 2023.
Wow.
And Cheryl, how would your swim go? Do you have the same experience? Worse?
Yeah.
Better?
I was in, I think, that second wave after the pros, and I knew it was going to be, we had been swimming all week, so I knew it could get swelly and it was fine. I'm a pretty strong swimmer, and I also was pretty confident. I knew that it was going to be a slower swim than I'm used to. I'm just based on the practice swim that was timed. And so I had a number in mind, and I was like psyching myself up to be okay with that number. But then when we get down the steps, the waves were hitting the wall behind us, and that hadn't happened at all in the swim start. There was a lot of beach when we were swimming all week, and
there was
no
no
beach.
beach.
And
None.
it was and I was like, oh boy. Okay. So that was my first indication that it was like not going to be like this awesome swim. Same thing as Jen. We were getting like thrown into each other as we were waiting.
Yeah. I turned around and apologized to the girl behind me. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep.
I'm already throwing elbows.
Yeah. Trying not to sink here.
Yeah. But I think that I was expecting the sightseeing, and it just wasn't that. I really had to concentrate a lot more on actual swimming. Really quickly, I got hammered because I was breathing right and the waves were coming from that side. So I got hammered a couple times in the face, and I'm fine with it. I've grown up in the ocean swimming and whatever, but like, I felt like I was at the Jersey Shore, jumping waves, getting smacked in the face constantly, getting flipped a little bit sometimes. So when I just decided, all right, I'm just going to put my head down, it was hard to get some clean water for whatever reason. I don't know why people were bunching together so much. I expected it to.
Thank you for saying that.
Right? Like I couldn't even get on feet. People were squeezing in, out, and over you. And I'm just like, this is very strange. We have a whole entire ocean. What is there only one line going through here? Like, it just seemed a little weird to me.
I had this
much more
experience.
bunchy.
I'm like, not only was it just a rough swim, but like I'm used to, and like these kinds of starts, first 100 meters, 200 meters, we're pretty bunch, and then kind of spread out. No, the whole time we were all on top of each other, and like you'd go left and there's legs. You'd go right and there's legs. You go straight and there's a fist in the face.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe it's because you guys maybe are strong swimmers also, but like, I feel like a lot of times that first 200 meters, I will generally pull away from my group or like fade a little bit to where I get some clean water. I'm always trying to chase that, and I could not find it at all. And it was really frustrating because you're so concentrated on not getting water in your face, getting your lean line. I remember Julie Moss in one of the calls saying, it was either Julie or McKaylee saying, just your form is going to matter the most in Kona. Like, it's going to seem a little longer, it's going to seem a little harder, but just keep your form. And so I was really, really trying to keep my form, but it was just very difficult when you were always hitting someone else's leg or arm or the wave or whatever it was. It was just, at some point, like you said, Jen, getting around those boats, I couldn't even like register the boats. I was just trying to get around the turn. you know, and I was thinking like, I have to take this in, but I couldn't. I just had
Yeah.
to concentrate so hard just to get that piece over. And then on the way back, I was like, I'm determined to enjoy this swim. Like was like, this is my jam. I want to enjoy this. And I'm like, but I'm in survival mode already. Like
Yeah.
it's not okay. So I think I kind of slowed down a little bit and just kind of moved off the line a little bit and just said, I'm just gonna enjoy my time back in. And I'm looking for dolphins. I'm looking for anything, you know. I'm like looking at the fish. Like I think I counted like four. I'm like, I can't even see the fish. So, and then
Yeah.
at some point, I'm like, all right, where is that tower? Where is that
Yeah.
giant
Mm,
yellow bottle? What am I doing? You know?
yeah. I felt like, so, I was in the last start group. So we started fully an hour and a quarter after both of you did. And it was like the water was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. And it was one of those where like, you're like, where's the boat? Where's the boat? Where's the boat? I can see the boat. Oh, there's only 2 buoys, between me and the boat. Oh shit, there's 3. Wait, where did 5 come from?
Yeah, I know. I felt like that too.
Yeah. And then we got there and swimming like from turn 1 to turn 2 felt like swimming uphill.
Yeah.
There was such a current and it was so rough. It felt like swimming uphill. I'm like, this is the longest 50 yards of my life.
Yeah.
And, the swim back felt harder than the swim out. I've never felt so beat up from a swim in my life.
I was hoping it was going to get easier on the way back, thinking that
Right.
it might be a turn of the tides or a current or whatever, but it wasn't. It didn't. It was
Well,
just as hard.
apparently my age group was swimming during the tide change.
Oh boy.
So if you look at our Stravas, there's a section in the course where we all are like swimming wide and then swim back like in a big sea. And it's like, that's the tidal current pulling us out. I said to my coach, I'm like, there was one point where I was swimming sideways to go straight.
Yeah. Yep.
And like, this was fantastic. I was 10 minutes slower than I was expecting.
Same.
I swam nearly every day there. And in the practice swim, my swim was getting close to like what a normal swim for me would look like because I don't swim in the ocean that much, which is why I got there so early. And it was getting close, like, pace wise to what I normally would expect in like a lake swim. And then on race day, I'm like, okay, we're probably gonna be a couple minutes off. Now, this is my second worst IM swim ever. Like, it was still a good swim, but I was like, not what I was expecting. But I guess that motivated me because, like, the pictures of me getting out of the water, I was apparently very, very happy.
Yeah, I was pretty happy too.
Yeah, like the pictures are like, all smiles. And then the water, hoses. I
Yeah.
remember the only thing I had in my head was, don't forget the hose off. Get the salt off.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually coming in, because the swell knocked me as I was coming up, I stacked it up the steps and I stubbed my toe and I was like, no. I was like, I just want to get out of the water. And then, so
Yeah.
my photos, they're not smiling because I'm hobbling and I'm like, oh God, has this impacted the rest of the race?
Well, John was taking video on the pier and he has video of some girls swimming backwards. So that, that section, that last turn, and then you swim like parallel to the pier,
Yeah.
back to the stairs, that like 200 yards or whatever, that, people were getting pulled out.
Mhm.
And I had gotten the advice before to swim closer to the pier. And I think that helped me, is girls who are swimming closer to the rope, they were like swimming in place.
Mm.
And I'm like, that's awful. But no, the transition I thought was pretty smooth.
It was incredible, like how I just ran in and there's a volunteer straight away there and she's like, what do you want me to do? And she was just like, do you want me to tip your bag out? Do you want me to get it out? Do you want sun cream? She opened up my sweets for
Yeah.
me. Like, they were brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think so. I had the same experience in Lake Placid. I think sometimes the volunteers in transition are too helpful. I'm
No
like,
such thing in my
No,
book.
I was going to say,
No.
I just like, they were like, what do you need? And I was like, everything, please. I said
Yeah.
they were brilliant.
Yeah, I've been working on trying to get my transition times down. My T1 times are like around 5 minutes these days, and my T2 around like 3. And I'm like just trying to get them down. And there's a point where I'm like trying to grab stuff and she's trying to grab stuff. I'm like, just hold the bag open. Because what I did is I put my shoes in and I put my calf sleeves in my shoes and I put my gloves in the calf sleeves. So like I had like order of operations going on. And I'm like, no, just let me get my stuff. But now I think everyone that I talked to seemed to like that. There was a lot of volunteers in transition,
Yes.
but no bike catchers.
No.
No.
I miss the bike catchers. I like the.
I had done in Ottawa, I saw a girl, a woman take out a full like laminated page of the steps for herself for transition. And I was like, man, I want to do something like that because my transitions are not 5 minutes, and nor did I think they were going to be in the. I've
Yeah.
had fast transition as my goal in some races. This was not one of those races. This was self-care at any cost,
Yeah.
whatever, any time cost.
Yeah,
It was all
yeah.
about like getting the next thing. But I did wind up taking a piece of masking tape and putting it over my full-size chamois butter. And I wrote down the steps of what I needed to do
Great
in
idea.
what order. Because sometimes you're doing something like I'm putting my bike gloves on, but shoot, I did not put chamois butter on. Now I got bike gloves on. So I had them everything. And also like, oh, and I forgot to eat that thing that was in there that I knew I was going to eat. So I put that in the steps. And so I just laid it out there and I was like, this is what I told the volunteer, this is what I'm doing. And you can be helpful if, like hand me things or whatever. So we all knew what was going on. Plus I had swum in my sports bra only. So I had to get my bike jersey on.
Yeah, I did.
Wet arms are it's very difficult. So
I just go with like the one piece and
yeah,
live with it.
smart. Yeah. But I
Like
also spent a little time in that shower hosing off
Mhm.
and yeah,
Yeah.
it
it's a
makes a
very,
difference.
yeah.
I think with Kona, like with how salty the sea is, and also you've got to get that sea salt, but like spending the time putting the sun cream on. I mean, there's some girls' posts that I've seen online of the burns on their arms,
Yes.
like blistering down their arms, that you want a quick transition, but actually it comes down to survival and keeping yourself safe in Kona and looking after
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, I was worried about my arms. I ended up putting I don't do it a lot. I think it's just this year is just Kona in Texas. I put the arm sleeves on.
Sleeves, yeah.
And I was glad that I did. My hands got very sunburned from being in Arrow.
Yeah.
And it's like the Arrow sunburn like
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
the
right up the top
on
of
the
your
top.
forearm.
But I was like thinking, I'm like, I burn easily. I would have been so sunburned.
Yeah.
I mean, I did get a little bit of sunburn between my hands and like the top of my thighs, like at the bottom there. I did get a little bit of sunburn there, but I was pretty happy. Like overall, I didn't get that badly burnt. At Texas this year, my left thigh got so sunburned that I still have a scar from it. So I was like, I was loaded up with, I was loaded up with sunscreen, and it seems like I had a allergic reaction to the mineral sunscreen.
Oh, no.
I never used it before Kona, and well, like a month ago, and I was training with it the last through August or whatever, September. But yeah, like so much of it, I'm like, uh-oh, I have like a rash in places that still hasn't gone away. I'm like, my doctor's like, yep, allergic reaction. It'll go away on its own. Like, fantastic.
Brilliant.
If you haven't been to Kona, that's the thing is like you can't use your regular sunscreen because of the reefs. And even the ones that are labeled reef safe, they're like, if you didn't buy it on the island, you can't use it.
They've sent out a list of ingredients that are banned and then
Mhm.
a list of ingredients there's only like 2 ingredients left and that actually protect from the sun.
Yeah,
They
it's
had the spray sunscreen in the tent and I'm not realizing like an idiot that it was going to be the mineral sunscreen and I sprayed it on my arms. So my arms were just white. Like I couldn't
Yes.
even rub
Yeah.
it in. They were just white. the whole time.
Yeah, they sprayed my arms in T2
Yeah.
while I was
Oh, it
getting
was,
ready. They sprayed my arms and the back of my legs. So yeah, I had like the white stripes on my arms, but like, you know what? I didn't get sunburnt.
yeah.
But at that point, it's like it was basically paint.
Yeah.
I actually stopped. I had to stop maybe 30 miles into the bike
Mhm.
to my we'll get into this again, but I had stomach issues from the swim, I think from just the seawater, right? So my stomach just wasn't settling. But I have a tube of sunscreen in my bento box that I was like, okay, I'm just going to pull this out and get the areas on the thighs where the kid is rubbing, because inevitably that's where you get that stripe of sunburn.
Mhm.
So I'm doing it, and I swear, like 3 or 4 other women came up to me like, "Is that sunscreen? Is that sunscreen? Can I borrow some?" I'm like, "Yes, take it, please, protect yourself." But everybody was like, I guess either rushing through T2 or didn't
Yeah.
spray the mineral sunscreen, I mean T1, or spray themselves or whatever, but they were all like putting it on. And then I put some on my face too, because I realized that I probably didn't get my face. So it's very sunny out there on the bike.
It was. It was. So let's talk about the bike.
Okay.
So Jen, how'd your bike go?
It was a mixture. The way down to Harvey, for me personally, I was flying and I was loving it, and I had really good speed and I was really happy, and then literally turned to climb up Harvey, and it was like the wind just hit and it felt like it was headwind the whole way up the hill.
It was.
And that was actually at the bottom of Harvey where the beach is really close. That's where I was
Right.
like trying to distract myself with anything. And I did see the dolphins flipping, which was incredible. And that was a good motivator to keep going. But yeah, the climb to Harvey was the first kind of tough time. But then, yeah, it was probably 3/4 on the way back that I felt like I had no power whatsoever in my legs. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it just felt like you were riding into wind. Kona is going to be windy and that there's going to be different winds, but I literally felt like I had no power, to the extent I even got off my bike because I was like, have I got a puncture?
Yep.
Like, why am I going so slowly? Like, I just couldn't get any pace whatsoever. And yeah, so I got off to check whether I had a puncture, which I didn't, which made me just burst into tears thinking, oh my gosh, this is killing me. So yeah, it was kind of the tale of two halves really with the bike. It was
Yeah.
the first bit was brilliant, but the way back was tough.
I passed you at one point and I don't know if you heard me, but I slowed down because I saw you and I'm like, I wasn't expecting to pass you so early. And I was like, is she okay?
Yeah, I was not okay at that point. That was my low point of the race.
No, the look on your face was, I'm not okay and leave me alone. So I did.
No, it was fine. It was just one of those low points of the race, which we all go through. But yeah, it was at that point that I was kind of questioning everything and trying to remind myself of where I was and how incredible this is and why I wanted to do it and all of that.
Oh yeah. Anybody who tells you that like you don't go through like the mental dark places of at some point has never done one of these or they're lying.
Right. I
It's
agree.
like, it's like you're out there, you're working, and at some point you're like, what the heck am I doing here?
Yeah.
And, like, I don't care who you are, but at some point you want your butt off of the seat.
For sure. I
So
think the wins of the day were very interesting. I mean, that
yeah,
they're coming, but I agree, Jen. The first couple of miles, maybe the first third, right before you got to Waikoloa, it was rolling hills, but we were going mostly downhill, because I do remember thinking, this is the back half of the race. This is the last third of the race, and we're going to be going uphill. And I was like, I don't know what that's going to be like. Like, I'm hoping that I'm just racing really well and that this isn't all downhill, because I
yeah,
really don't want to go back up it. I mean, they were very gradual, but like I was really trucking also and just feeling like, okay, yeah, rolling hills, I know how to do this. But then it hit me. I'm like, oh God, we got to come back. We're going to be toast.
yeah.
My legs are going to die.
They're rolling hills, but they're rolling down hills.
They're rolling down, and we're going to
Yeah.
have to roll back up. And that's exactly what happened. And then I was thinking, well, maybe we have a tailwind. Maybe we'll get a tailwind up Javi. Maybe it'll help. that was not the case.
It didn't come. It didn't come at all.
It was
Yeah,
a headwind up. I was watching all of the
yeah,
grasses
a
bend.
tailwind both ways. I
No,
don't know.
I felt like we had a headwind both ways, to be honest.
Definitely. I would agree with you, Cheryl. It felt like a headwind, and I think it was a headwind basically
It,
both
it,
ways.
it was.
Well, it switched. I think we had the tailwind going out, and then we hit the headwinds going up Javi. And then when we came down, switch back to the regular winds. I mean, and then in Waikoloa, it was crosswinds
Oh,
because
but
I
remember,
was,
like we also changed directions,
yeah, I got,
right? It's like, we're heading north, and then we hang pretty hard right.
yeah.
So, we changed directions too, not just the wind.
And I remember thinking, my husband was saying, I was riding on these, so not like terribly deep wheels, but I race wheels on. And I remember him saying like, well, if you can hold your bike steady in the wind, that should help you. So I kept thinking,
Does he race?
just, just strong core, just have a strong core. Just don't get knocked over. They're going to help you.
Well, yeah,
Somehow even a headwind is going to help me.
don't get blown over.
I definitely nearly did, though. There was a couple of times where I was like, I'm on the floor here. It was, you're constantly kind of rocking, but there was a few big gusts where I'm surprised that I managed to stay upright.
I agree.
Yeah, there were, I think, 2 sections where I got into the base bars just because it was very gusty, and I'm like, we're going to take this as an opportunity to stretch our shoulders out.
Yeah.
But every time you got out of Aero, it was like hitting a brick wall. I mean, it's like
But yeah.
everything was like, oh my God, now my
Yeah,
power shot up.
I was watching power and speed, and my goal for the race was to be like pretty consistent on power and cadence, and I was more or less consistent, but my speed in base bars versus aero was like 2 to 3 mile an hour difference. Like it's noticeable for sure.
Yeah. And I definitely, the thing that made me feel better, because I got in and saw my husband immediately and he was like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm not okay. And he was like, but Lucy and Taylor, they didn't make it. And I was like, oh, well, if they didn't make it, then it's not just me. And thank God for that.
Yeah.
I know.
They did make it off the bike.
Yeah. But it
That was the first thing I heard when I got off too. I think it was my coach. He's like you're in front of Taylor. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm in front of Taylor?
how is that possible?
Right. It's like she DNF'd. Like, oh shit. So I thought I don't always use the special needs, but like this time I did. It did something different on nutrition on this race than I've done in the past. Leading up to like every IM I've done, I've always been like green on the run. And
Same.
we can never figure out why. And I spent a lot of time with like Precision Nutrition and some other people, some other coaches that I'm friends with, and got a lot of sweat data to kind of dial in nutrition for this race. And it was the first time where like I wasn't green at all on the run. But it also meant that I didn't carry all of my nutrition with me, which I usually do. So I had to stop at like the special needs, feet down for 3 minutes because they called my number out, but nobody got my bag. So I had to wait for the bag. So I don't know if you guys had a similar experience or even used special needs, but I was thinking, Cheryl, of you as you were talking, with the chamois cream. Every bag, special needs, transition bag has like, oh, I don't have one with me.
Yeah,
It's one of those little disposable chamois cream packets.
The one shots.
Yeah, just like squeeze it out on your hand, get it down in there, and like wipe it off on your pants, and nobody cares. You just have a very well lubricated hand for the rest of the race.
Or some smear marks on your from your
or both. No. So Jen, my fastest 30 miles were the last 30 miles.
Really?
But that's the thing about Kona is everybody like has different races, and somebody once told me that with Kona if you're hitting a bit of weather, then it will change within the next few miles and the next few miles, and so everybody has that different race. Because somebody else I was chatting to said that their first part of the race was brutal and they thought they weren't going to make it. So yeah, everybody's different.
Now I think when like for me mentally, when we made that turn at Waikoloa back onto Queen K,
Mhm.
like to me mentally, that's like, okay, I've ridden this like 4 times. I know what this feels like from here to the airport. It's from the airport, it's all downhill, right? Like, I know what this feels like. And with the headwind, I just like got down an arrow, tried to keep myself as small as possible, and just kind of cranked through it. I did see some bad behaviors out there, which I was not expecting on a women's only course. I haven't seen it before. Blocking. I've never had someone block me on a pass. And, I was going at a pretty good clip past this lady, and she like accelerated to prevent me from passing her, which you're not allowed to do. And I didn't know she was doing this. I'd already like my head had already passed her and I couldn't see her in my periphery. And I went to get over. And like when someone passes you by the rules,
Drop back.
it is your responsibility to drop back, make sure that they can complete the pass safely. No, no, no. She like starts screaming at me because she's like telling me I couldn't get in. And I'm like, honey, you're blocking a pass. You can't do that. And like I had a ref on my tail for quite some time earlier in the race. And I'm like, where's the ref
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Right? Back then, like, I could hear like the moped in the back when he was behind there. I had that happen, which I've never had that happen in a race before. I'm like, that's like unusually aggressive. And like, you didn't like that I passed you, fine. As soon as I'm over, then you can overtake me. That's how it works. But yeah, going that like 30 miles or so from Waikoloa up to the airport, I was like, just stay consistent, stay small, and get up the hill. And that's, Jen, when I passed you at some point in that section, I think it was.
Yeah.
And, you were looking like you wanted to be anywhere but on the bike at that time. But no, there was a point coming down, like once we made that turn down into like the where Target is, it felt like everybody stopped racing.
Yeah. I think everyone was mentally preparing themselves for the
Yeah.
Yeah,
run.
like everyone was in base bars, just freewheeling it through, and I'm like cranking through, and like the turns are pretty sweeping turns. You don't even need to get out of arrow for those turns. And everyone's like, it was like suddenly it became like a Sunday drive. And I came down Palani pretty fast. I loved in transition that there was someone running with you, giving you all of your stats and the stats of the people around you. I'm like, I loved that. He's like, you're 19th right now. You need to have this pace to overtake the person in 18th. And I'm like, yes, I love this.
Well, I didn't have that.
I've never had that in a race before.
No.
No, I thought everybody got that.
No, I didn't have
Maybe
that
I
at all.
just had
Like, I think you were just fast. And
maybe I just had a really awesome volunteer with me.
Maybe. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like, this is so cool. I'm like, I love this.
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing that threw me as well, I don't know whether you had this, but well, Lucy, Charles Barkley clearly had the same, because they don't use the proper drinks bottles. They use kind of just plastic water bottles. And I lost 3 out of my cages on my bike. And yeah, I was racing and I had less hydration. So I was literally waiting to get to the next aid station because they were flying out.
Yeah, that's a difference between the European races and the North American ones. All of the bottles that we get are Polar Springs bottles, the sports cap bottles. And like the Mortal, they just get in like a big tub of powder and mix it in to those Polar Springs bottles, where you guys get like the proper precision bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think at this point we're all used to that.
Yeah, it's
It's like,
definitely
yeah,
not what we're used to at all from the Europeans.
Yeah, and like if you notice, like the Gorilla XT and the Tri-Rig bottle cages are all a little bit on the small side, and I think that, my opinion, I think that's probably why. Because like when you put like a regular size water bottle in there, it like crushes it, and it's super hard to get in and out. But those like slightly smaller Polar Springs bottles fit like perfectly. But yeah, and most of us have rubber bands. If you're putting
Yeah.
it in the back, you need the rubber band because like those they're gonna fly out. And that's what happened to Lucy. And like, well, at least it wasn't last year when it was still a 5-minute penalty.
Yeah, definitely. I was a bit like, "Oh, I'm glad the referee wasn't behind me at that point
Yeah.
because, I would have got in trouble."
Yeah.
Wow, though I didn't see unintentional littering in the rule book this year. I mean, I guess it's still there, but
Well, that's what Lucy got picked up on was
yeah,
because it was unintentional, so
right. Although the penalty is the same, so I don't know what the difference is.
I saw quite a lot of bottles on the road. I
yeah.
saw
There
a lot of bottles. Yeah.
Yeah, there was one aid station where I rolled through and like there were a lot of bottles and I actually my back wheel rolled over one. Like as I went through, like the bottle rolled between my front and rear wheel and I rolled over it. And I'm like, oh. I was like I kind of saw it coming, so I was prepared for it, but I'm like someone with not awesome bike handling skills would be on the ground.
Yeah.
But I thought most of them did a really good job of keeping the bottles clear of the course.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree.
Although I did see one person who like missed like 4 bottle grabs,
Oh, no.
and I'm like you're an age grouper and you're not going that fast. If it's that hard, just stop.
Yeah. Was that later in the bike? Maybe they were just delirious at that point.
No, it was before the turnaround at Hobby. It was like that last aid station
Maybe
on the
she still had chamois butter on her hands.
Yeah.
oh, maybe. I didn't wear gloves on this one because, during the week, my glove apparently hadn't dried out, and I went to put it on, and like the leather like completely ripped off. It was very ventilated. You know, one of the things I like about the leather gloves is when they get wet, it's almost like the bottles just stick to
Yeah,
it.
they get drippy.
It's like having glue on there. It just sticks. But no, every aid station, I like grabbed like 2 bottles of water and like one went in my thing and
Mhm.
one went on me,
Yeah.
like my arms, my back, anywhere. And I was like going alternating between water and mortal, I think. I
Mm,
don't the mortal, but you can't have nothing.
yeah. I had a really good plan. I mean, I've my bike nutrition plan is usually pretty solid for a full. It's the run where it falls apart, but
Mm.
I stuck to it. I actually again wrote down where every aid station was on I taped my front bike bottle so that I knew where the aid stations were. Which was super helpful this time around because everything looks the same. There's like hardly any, there's no like, it's not like, oh, well, when I go past that Dunkin' Donuts, I know there's an aid station coming up. There's just lava fields. So it was just really helpful to be like, okay, I'm at mile 75. There's an aid station at mile 79. I just got to go, what do I need to finish this bottle? Do I need to grab water? Am I grabbing mortal? What am I doing? So that was super helpful for me this time, especially because there was more aid stations than there usually are, right? There were ones where
Was
I'm like,
there? 'Cause it like seemed like it was a little light compared to a normal IM.
I think there were 10 aid stations, which I feel like is more than usual.
It
Was
was
there
more than I've had before.
Yeah.
okay.
They were every 15 miles, but then they threw in a couple, there were some that were like had 2 sides so
Yeah.
that they kind of were in between. And again, that was super helpful for me because it was like, I knew if I was going to come up on an aid station that was only 8 miles from the last one, that I shouldn't, that it doesn't mean I need to have a bottle drunk before that. Right. So I was like, okay, this is an intermediate one. I can just grab water and spray it all over the place and in my mouth. And so I had different things that I needed to do in each aid station. So it was super helpful to have those written down. I was also really trying to stop for the porta potty every 2 hours. So again, that was very helpful for me to know which aid stations that had to be. And if I missed that aid station, then I was like, oh, I'm a little dehydrated or whatever. So that was good. Unfortunately, I was still a little green from all of that seawater. Coming back, I think it stopped twice to like try to get my stomach to settle. And I drank some Coke and I like got off my bike and I just try. I mean, I wasn't even overheating so much. I think I did a good job on that, but I just had to like get some food. I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in special
Mhm.
needs that I just kind of took a bite, stuck back in my pocket. And so I would take a bite and drink some Coke and just like, okay, you know,
The idea of solids like that just make me get sick.
same, except that I
Just thinking
needed it
about it, just
because I
thinking
was nauseous and I just couldn't think of any other way to, um, like I couldn't I just couldn't do any of that. And I normally don't eat on the bike. Yeah. And I mean, on the one hand, it was like a lot of time to stop and to just recalibrate. But on the other hand, there were inevitably another athlete or two also stopped. And so to kind of hear their story and to kind of, you know, try to just cheer each other on and give encouragement was nice, was helpful to me, even if it was like me giving them encouragement, like
Yeah.
just, oh, you'll finish, you got plenty of time, you know, whatever, just doing the math. And so that was kinda
Yeah.
nice, but also going, I mean, think about you, Jill, like, you know, your feet had to hit the ground, special needs, it's like, yeah, well, I'm sitting there having a Coke like it was a cocktail hour, you know?
Yeah, I was very at the time, I was very annoyed that I had to feet down on a bike race.
Yeah, I agree. This was not a very typical thing for me either, but there's just nothing for it. And I kept saying like, I am going to be happy with my race. I'm not going to not be able to get to the run. Like just, I wanted to do whatever I could do to take care of myself so that I was going to finish. And I had to like let go of any of those numbers that I had in my head because it's not that kind of a course. It's like, unless you're racing at a Jill level or an elite level or a pro level, which I am not, I was just like, I'm gonna just be here and just enjoy. So I don't want to, you know, I don't know. It's hard to hold that truth in my head while also at the world championship, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like these are the best in the world. Like I feel like, you know, the competitive person in me is like, I also should be doing everything possible to get to that finish line in the least
yeah.
amount of time I can. I should be
Well,
rushing my transitions. I should be
so
rushing this day
I
finishing.
saw
But
2 distinct personalities. So, like, I had a time I was shooting for an 11:30, and, you know, I had put that out in the universe. I didn't make it. I was a half hour off, which is why, like, you know, Roland was making fun of me because I changed my, crank size twice while I was there. So I went in conservative, and after riding it, I'm like, "Nope, we're gonna get less conservative." And then I rode it again, and I'm like, "Nope, we're gonna get less conservative." I'm like, I ended up riding it with a 50, and I was originally planning to ride it with a 48, I think. And then afterwards, I'm like, "Shit, I should have gone bigger." But yeah, like I saw 2 personalities, like the girls who are like, "Nope, we're racing this. You know, we're racing it to win it." And then you know, and I was happy with my bike. I was all right with my swim. My run is where I need work, but I have a hamstring injury, so I knew my run was going to be dictated by that.
mm,
And I have surgery on that in like a month after Marbella. But I saw another personality, which I didn't expect to see at World Championships, but I saw it last year too, which was no, we got here. This is a celebration.
mm,
And like there were a lot of women who were out there, they were sightseeing and just having fun and you know, watching the fishies and, you know, the sunset and whatever. And I'm like, that's great for them. You know,
mm.
you know, that's not how I raced. You know, my day was, you know, I had a goal and I was shooting for the goal and I missed it, but I put in the effort that I wanted to put in. And, you know, I beat myself up. I'm like, really? You couldn't have found the extra 6 minutes on the course.
I went down that road after my race too, and I just can't because I have both personalities
Mhm. Mhm.
sitting in me at the same time, and it was just they were both competing that day, and I said to myself that I had to have one win, and ultimately my dream of being in Kona was such a long road that I was like, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not going to race it because I can't. Not even for my. I knew I was never going to compete with my age group, but like I was competing with myself. But I was like, no, that's not. I can't do that because something's gonna go wrong that's gonna take me out,
Yeah.
and then I'll have a DNF, and that is not what I want. So I
I
just
went down exactly that route of like I started out on the run and like the bit through town is amazing and actually snapped me out after kind of I struggled on the bike. But then I got up to the Queen K and I was like, actually, it is so hot that I could push it, but I don't want a DNF and I don't want to make myself ill and end up in hospital. And actually hearing about Taylor and Lucy, I was like, if they're struggling with it, I just need to be a bit conservative here and just take it a little bit carefully.
Exactly.
What was interesting on the run is in 2023, as soon as the sun set, I'd stopped throwing ice down me and putting water over my head. Whereas this year, even when it was dark, I was still putting water over me and it just didn't let up the heat.
Yeah, I had a slightly different experience on the run. Coming off, I was a little conservative on the bike, and coming off of it, I went straight into run. I ran my bike through transition. I managed to get blisters in transition running in my bike shoes, which was, I've never had that happen before. And oh my God, it still hurts a week later. Relatively slow transition compared to what I wanted. I'm like, afterwards, I'm like, you could have done that 2 minutes faster. But going out on the run, I'm like, I went straight out on the run. And then after like a mile, the sea air just got in my lungs and it just stayed there, that in both directions. And like my asthma was acting up. I didn't have my inhaler with me because I'm an idiot. And I was like, yeah, you're not going to need an inhaler. And I was so hot. And the guy who was like at like mile 3 on Ollie Drive, who had the pitchers of water that he was dumping over people,
Mhm.
I'm like, yes, please. And I stopped at that dude in both directions.
Yeah.
I'm like, bring it on, man. Like, just dump that down. But then when I got out on the Queen, I walked Palani. I'll be honest, I walked the hill. With the hamstring, I'm like, I'm not risking the race for 2 minutes. And, then, when I got on the Queen K, I'm like, oh my God, it's so much cooler. It is like the direction of the wind without the sea breeze, like that first mile on the Queen K, I'm like, this is so much cooler. I'm like, that's when I was like, I can do this. And, I'm like, I know this run. I've done this before. Before the race, I had run the Energy Lab 3 or 4 times. So I knew what that felt like. And I had always gone at the same time of day that I was going to be running it. And it was like hotter than Hades. And I'm like, okay, I know how to do this. I've done it before, like last week, and that one, that's where the distance between the aid stations was like so apparent, is like everywhere else on the run, they were about 1 mile. But in that 10K, there's only the 2.
Yeah.
And that was where I was like, where's the aid station? There's like one missing in the middle.
Mhm.
But, in the Energy Lab, after I saw you, because, we ran past each other in the Energy Lab, you were heading down and it was like right before I was making the left towards the Texaco. I think once I made that left, I got like a 40-second win. And I was like, yeah, my pace came down. I was like feeling good. I'm like, yes, we only got like 7 miles to the finish or whatever. And that stayed out on Queen K. I'm like, yes, I was mentally prepared for the boost of like being out on the Queen K. I had like my mental model of the race, of the run, was I'd broken it down into quarters. I'm like, the first quarter was that 7 miles in town. Then the run from town up the Queen K to Energy Lab, then the Energy Lab, and then from the Energy Lab home to the finish line. And I was like, once I reached that, that right turn off onto Queen K, I'm like, yes. And like in my head, I was going to be getting on the Queen K right at sunset. And lo and behold, I got on the Queen K a little bit before the sun was down. And, it's like, off to my right, beautiful sunset going down. And like, I think I lost the sun entirely at like mile 22 or something. So I didn't have the headlamp for that long. And then, that last 4 miles just beat me up. It's like from the time I lost the sun until the time I turned back onto Ollie Drive, I felt so beat up. There was one point where I was really trying to have an 11, and there was one point where I'm like doing the math. I'm like, hun, you're gonna have to run like 9 phase for the next 4 miles. That's not happening. And I think there was like that 1 mile where I just like kind of gave up. I walked and then I ran and then I walked and then I ran and then I walked. And like the whole race, I was like running a quarter mile, walking 2 reflectors, running a quarter mile, walking 2 reflectors. And that one, I was like, walking a quarter mile, running 2 reflectors. And then I got back into it and, got to the finish line. But that 1 mile, I think I lost like 10 minutes. And that's where, like, after the race, I'm like, if my swim was a little bit faster, if my transitions were a couple minutes faster, if I didn't have to put my feet down at the aid station, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I could have found the 6 minutes, but I'm like, you know what? I'm happy with the race.
Yeah.
I'm happy with the effort I put in. When you look back on it, I'm like, are there things that could have gone differently or better? I'm like, of course there are. There always are.
There always are, yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? It was my first time at Kona. I beat my coach's prediction by over an hour. Let's just throw that.
Nice.
And even like John and my coach were having a little argument because, John's like, yeah, she's going to get it done in like 4:45 on the run. And my coach is like, nah, she's going to be like 5:30. I was like 4:45 on the run. Yeah, my coach said to me yesterday, he's like, yeah, apparently your husband knows you better than I do. Well, he should. I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so.
I think there's definitely so many kind of, if I did this, if I did that, but just,
Yeah.
with Kona, you never know with the weather. And even though Kona 2023, the weather was a lot better than this year, I still beat my time from 2023. So even though I felt like I beat myself up a lot in that race, I'm going to take the positive of that I beat my time.
Yeah, I mean, you have to take the wins. I PR'd my bike. Getting off the bike, I was like, you know what? Next time I'm here, I'm going bigger because my goal was, I was spinning out going down some of the hills. I'm like, 120 cadence and you can only manage to get like 60 watts out. Like, you know what? Next time we're going to go big. And the thing that was the one thing. It's like I should have gone bigger on the chain ring because I did not use the little ring once. And I'm like, if I never had a need to shift down, then I could have gone bigger and gotten away with it. Right. And that was what I was so concerned about, was like not being able to maintain the cadence. And I chose my chain ring for that purpose. And then, finished, I'm like, I look at the metrics. I'm like, I'm like, John, I didn't downshift in the front one. I might as well have done a single and, gone bigger with a 2x. And, he's like, yeah, but, this is your first time out there. You didn't know what to expect. I'm like, yeah, but I rode the course like 4 times. But it was windier though. Like the week before, It was way windier on course. That first day I went out there, I was like, crap. We parked at Waikoloa at that little shopping center there where the other Bike Works is, and rode out to Javi and back, which was like 65 miles or something. And I remember that day being like, oh crap. I rode with my coach out and back. And that was when he's like, your FTP is a lot higher than I thought it was. It's like, I don't know if you guys have the same problem. On the trainer, I had such a hard time getting power out on the trainer.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go outside and like the power numbers are so much higher.
Yeah,
and it doesn't feel as hard. But like on the trainer, and I'm like, I'm a coach, and I'm like, logically, I'm like, no, I get it. It's more boring, but it's not harder. But it is harder.
It is harder. I agree.
Yeah, like you sit there and it's like, why is this so hard? And then the next day you go out and you ride like twice as hard, and it doesn't feel half as difficult.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, Jill. I have exactly the same.
Yeah.
Same.
I can never figure that one out because, like, logically, that's not a thing. But in the real world, it absolutely is. At least for me. And these women who go out, like, they basically only train on the trainer. I'm like, I don't know how you do that.
I don't know how you can come to a known windy course and only ride the trainer and expect to have any kind of pull out there.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends, like, I mean, let's be honest, riding, at least in the US, I know Europe's not quite as bad, but I think the UK is more like the US in this regard than the rest of Europe, is like, it is dangerous to ride on the roads a lot of the time and in a lot of places. Like drivers on a good day get annoyed by cyclists. On a bad day, like they're out to get us. And, I hate to say it that way, but I mean, I've seen the posts in the Facebook groups, and my local town, I've seen posts that are to the effect of like, you want a bike? Good. Go our speed. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, they could lower the speed so you go our speed.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we have all the signs of
Yeah.
like, give cyclists 4 feet, share the road, blah, blah. And, most people are fine, but it just takes that one person. So I know a lot of people who do like almost all their training either on a trainer or on a trail.
Yeah.
Because like riding, sometimes it feels like you're taking your life in your own hands, when you're out on.
Absolutely. And for me, trying to acclimatize, like, because I was only arriving on a Wednesday, and obviously the UK is definitely not as hot as Kona. So I was having to do a lot on the turbo in a sweat jacket to try and acclimatize to the heat.
Yeah, I saw your videos. I was like, yeah, no. I rode for like all of August and September on the trainer. Like I did my long rides on the trainer. It was like 6 hours on the trainer. You like that is like the definition of torture. I'm sorry.
I mean, mental resilience definitely is developed in those workouts for sure, but it is tough.
Well, but in my butt, I don't mean my butt. But, I was riding, I'm like, windows closed, no fan. My kids are like, it's so hot in here. Like, yeah, you can go in the basement, go in your bedroom, do whatever. But like here, it's going to be hot.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was times where I had to get off the bike to clean up the puddle of sweat because it was like it was so big, it was like leaking off of the mat. And I have hardwood floors. I'm like, let's not ruin the hardwood floors.
Yeah. Same. We watched a lot of the cycling tours.
Yes. I got those I was riding with like the on the trainer. I was riding with the shocks.
Yeah.
Headphones, but I found it felt like a little chaotic, because I'd have like the TV on, the kids would be playing, friends would be like throughout the house, and then Zwift and everything. And I ended up getting those the new Zwift headphones because my Apple ones, you can't ride with those. Like the like ear thingies get all full of sweat.
Yeah, it's gross.
But yeah, those Zwift ones that they're like vinyl or something, and I'm like, they're actually really pretty good for what they are. And I brought them on the plane with me out just to see like how the noise cancellation was. I'm like, they're actually not that bad. I was like, they're not that bad. The noise cancellation is not like what my noise like the headphones that we buy for flying. But I'm like, they're not that bad. They're not that bad. But for the training, they were pretty good. I was listening to the movies while watching, the Zwift or the Rouvy on the computer in front of me with, the Peloton app sitting next to me because I'm very ADHD. And I'm like, you got to have all the distractions. We had all the things going. I don't know what from a training perspective. So Jen, you said you did most of the training on a trainer.
Yeah, I kind of mixed it a little bit. I had to do some inside for the heat, but I also did go outside. So sometimes, like my longer sessions, I would split between the two. So I would do half inside and then half outside, just to try and get a bit of the wind and but whilst getting the heat in as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I experimented with the rollers, and they're interesting. It's because like they're interesting. I found on the rollers, like my limit was like an hour and a half.
Wow.
And for that, it wasn't my rear like it was on the trainer. It was my hands go numb.
Yeah. Yeah, that tracks.
Because on the trainer, on the rollers, like your weight distribution is different. It's like I never have my hands go numb outside. On the rollers, it's like for me at least, my weight was more forward than I think it normally is. And I was just like losing that feeling. So, all right. So we all finished. Post race was pretty awesome, wasn't it?
Wait, Jen, how did you do on the run? Did I miss your
Yeah, I said about the run that it was just very hot, but yeah, it was good. I was one of those who was enjoying the sunset and stargazing at the same time because it's just such a special place. But the heat did get to me and the nausea crept in. But
Yeah.
yeah, it
But once
wasn't
that sun
too
went
bad.
down,
It was dark, very, very dark.
I was, I did not bring a headlamp with me and ended up buying one out there, and I was so happy I did.
Yeah. There were quite a few people who didn't have them, so like it would like run alongside you for a little bit, those who
Yeah.
had headlamps, because it was just pitch black. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the things that surprised me is, I knew that I was only going to be running in the dark for like 45 minutes to an hour. Like, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, the way I mapped it out, unless things went horribly south, like I knew like I was running in the dark for a fairly limited time and it was going to be in a straight line on the highway, right? But as I was heading in, we're like my mile 24, people were still like in large groups
Yeah.
going the opposite direction, which would
Yeah.
be like their mile like 7 and no headlamps. And I was like, how are you planning to finish this race in the complete dark?
Especially down in the energy lab because there's just nothing down there.
Right. Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no light down there.
I bought those clip-on lights.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought 4 and I charged them all. And then I put 2 in my transition bag and 2 in my special needs bag because I had no idea what time I was going to get on the run. I mean, I figured most of it would be in the light, but I knew some of it was definitely going to be in the dark. And I'm glad that I distributed them that way because the ones that I had in transition, I didn't have them on for very long, but they started to fade. Probably when I got back on the Queen K. So then I just shut those off and put the other ones on that I had picked up in the special needs bag. So I actually gave
Yeah.
one to somebody too because it was like there's this person in the dark. I'm like, do you need a light? Because you look like
Yeah.
you're visible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I probably over planned it, but
I think I think this course needs that though,
yeah.
Mhm.
especially that being that dark. I had put my headlamp in my special needs bag and I was glad I had it because even out on the Queen K, like the road is somewhat unpredictable.
Yep.
But, I was thinking to myself, I didn't turn it on until a mile or two after I was out on the Queen K. But I was like, if I was off by, my kind of, I actually spent a lot of time trying to figure out like what time I was going to be where within like some range because of, nutrition and whatnot. And I was like, if I was off by a half hour, I would have been running. It was still been kind of light when I got there, but like I would have been kind of wishing I had it with me, I think.
Yeah. So here's something very funny. When I got down, I actually went into the energy lab. It had already gone dark, I think. Yeah, it was dark. I forgot that special needs was at mile 17 and not mile 13. It was
Yeah.
fine because I overpack everything.
Yeah, it's pretty deep on this one.
It's deep. I
Yeah.
got the special needs going in and it was dark and I saw them and I heard them calling numbers and I went over. I'm like, oh, thank God, you guys special needs. And they looked at me and they're like, yeah, but you got to go and come back coming the other
Yeah.
way. You can't give me your bag that way.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was
they
disappointing.
miscalled my number. And they had like the wrong bag waiting for me and I'm like, "No, no, no, that's not mine."
Wrong stuff. Yeah. That was a very interesting course. I mean, again, all the information and we had so much
Mhm.
information coming in, especially with our calls and stuff. And yet I was still surprised how dark the energy lab was. I was still surprised how
Well,
deep you get
for
it in there and whatever.
I mean, Jen, I don't know where in the UK you are, but for, Cheryl and I mean, we live in the Northeast. For us to find a place that gets that dark, like we need to travel. Well, Cheryl, for you need to be like north of Albany,
Yeah, probably.
right? Which is like at least 3 hours for you, right? And I would need to be like somewhere in the middle of Pennsylvania, which again, like 2-3 hours, just for it to get that dark. There's so much light pollution, right here on the coast. And I imagine, Jen's, probably pretty similar for
To
you.
run safely. Otherwise, like, we've got country lanes, but I wouldn't run down them because it's just too dangerous.
I mean, just like to find a place at night that is like as dark as it is there with like no
not the
light
same.
pollution.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Stuff.
yeah.
It
All
was
right.
very interesting. I'm glad the Queen K was a straight line. I got after the rest of the Queen K, and you come down Palani.
Mhm.
I don't know about you guys. Was there the tent there where the announcers kind of calling you down Palani a little bit? I feel like that was like a light switch that just got like turned everything back on in me. It was like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
there's people, right? And then suddenly there were spectators and
Yeah.
people and announcers and music. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I felt like I was the fastest runner in the world in that section. And someone said to
Yeah.
me, 2 more turns. And I was just like, really? There goes the dopamine hit. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There was, when I went through, there was still quite a lot of spectators out on the highway.
Okay.
You come down, you make the left off of Palani at like 25 point whatever, and then you make the right. So like from the time I got on Palani to the time at the finish, there was like
Yeah.
quite a lot of spectators still. But that half or 3/4 mile run down, I can't pronounce the name of that highway. I did not appreciate that section at that point. Yeah, Kuakini, that's it. I'm like, can we like hit fast forward right now? I'm like, I really did not like that run for no logical reason other than like in my head the finish line is right there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to run this way. I want to run that way.
Yeah. It's kind of like Lake Placid, right? It's like, wait a minute, the oval's there. Why am I going this way?
Yeah. Yeah. Lake Placid, that is my least favorite part of that race. I mean, aside from, the run.
The entire run?
Yeah. Hearing the announcer for 3 hours. Uh-huh. Yeah. So at the finish line, my least favorite part is like, it's kind of courtesy to give everyone like space so they can get their photo.
Yeah.
So I had 2 people. So I was doing like 7.5s going down that like finish stretch.
LEE on LEE.
Yeah. And 2 ladies passed me as we're going up the ramp.
Yeah.
So my finish line picture has 3 people, three of us. Boom, boom, boom. I was like, because I had slowed down for the lady in front of me.
Right.
And then that woman just stopped at the top. She just stopped flat.
Mhm.
And then these other 2 went, so it's like boom, 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 boom. And I was like, man, I have no good finish line photo. My finish line photo has like me squished in with 3 or 4 others. I'm like,
You got to be slower. I mean, when I finished, it's like you're all alone. It's like,
I'm like,
hey, the announcer's talking about me for like a
yeah,
whole 5 minutes when I went down LEE.
yeah. I'm like, come on, man, give everyone their 2 seconds.
I did
happened to me
see a
in
big
races a
group
lot.
in front of me, but that was quite a way down Alihi, so I sprinted past them because I could see there was a big gap. So I was like, I'm far enough past them that I'm not going to ruin their photos, but I want my finish line picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm
real.
like, really? For what? 1 second difference in your time?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
I've had people like unfurl their country flags in
Yeah.
front of me.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, stop.
Yeah.
I
It's
will
very-
say that finish line though, like that final stretch down Alihi is just something else. It was
It
such
is.
an atmosphere, and yeah, coming over that finish line into the finish area because it's almost zoned off. It's like it's got kind of the 4 walls of spectators. It's just brilliant. It's the finish line next to none.
Yeah, that was incredible. Incredible. I went over and my husband was there, and then I'm like practically crying on his shoulder, and he's like, hey, look who's here to greet you. And I look over and Daniela Reef is standing there.
Oh,
And she comes over and gives me a big hug, and then, like, we're taking pictures, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, really?" And then I had to, like, go after I'm like, "It's not midnight, is it? Like, it's not like I
no.
mean, it's not that late." Everybody's like, "No, no, it's still 10
See, I'm a
something."
little jealous. I didn't get the pros.
And then
I
Scott
didn't.
Giroux was there, and he gave me a big hug. So I got my picture with Scott Giroux too, and I was just like,
Oh, nice.
rock star. It was pretty incredible. But yeah, even at the late I think I was like 10, I don't know, 30, 10:45 or something like that at not time wise, but at the time, not race time, clock time. And it was
Yeah.
thinning out, but like there was still so many
You
people on
That's still
Elite.
like 2 hours before course close.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was way, way before. But that's what I said. I saw Daniela Reef there, and I was like, "Wait a minute, we're not that late."
I think the thing I loved about and they didn't have this in Nice, but each time I've done Kona, they have, so when you finished, you're greeted by two volunteers who escort you back
Yep.
to make sure that you're okay, and then pass you over to another volunteer who
Yes.
then escorts you to get your medal, and then to another volunteer. And it's the amount of volunteers there that were just incredible. And I don't know if you guys looked, but you walk past the medical tent, and oh my goodness, it was literally like a war zone when I walked past. The amount of people who were on IVs
Yes.
and just needing medical attention. And so to the volunteers, they were absolutely brilliant.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
But the volunteers on this course were fantastic,
Yeah.
I felt. And
Yeah.
I had that same experience. As we walked past the medical tent, the lady I was walking with, she's like, "You don't need medical, correct?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm actually really good." And she's like, "You sure you don't need medical?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm good." She's like, "All right, but you sure you don't need it?" I'm like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah.
And I went and
So
got my picture and bad chicken.
yeah, that was nice that they give you right to the picture guy. As somebody that has ended up in medical on several of my Ironmans, that was my one, well, two. I had two goals: finish and don't go to medical. And as we're passing medical, and I'm looking in, and there were still a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
I was just like, I can't, like, I was like overcome in a weird sort of way that I wasn't going to medical. I was going to the French. I was not going to medical. And I was like, wow, that is amazing. Okay. So I had a really slow run, and I had some stomach issues of all this. And I did my really long transitions, and I stopped on the bike. But all of that led me to obtaining my goal of not going to
Yeah.
medical. So yeah,
Yay.
I know.
Yeah, that's
So I'll
awesome.
take my 16-hour finish, thank you very much,
Yeah.
and not try to deconstruct it too much. I mean, my moving times were very decent. My stationary times were self-care times, and that's, I'm gonna take that for the win.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with needing to go to medical at the end, but not going to medical, like, that's a win for
Felt
sure.
really good.
Yeah. Although I was disappointed there was no one at the end of this race with like the massage tables.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm used to that at the end of the races. Like you got
John didn't
three
take that. Your
15
husband
minutes.
didn't help you out there? You didn't
Oh,
get it?
oh, let me tell you. I did have a massage like the day 2 days before and then the day after. And it was wonderful. But I was so stiff getting out of bed the next morning. It's
Yeah.
like walking zombie.
I could tell the fast girls the next day. I could tell all the fast girls because they were all really walking very gingerly. And I was like, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sore, but I don't look like you. So you
Uh,
must be very fast.
Yeah, there is the walk.
Yeah.
There's the walk.
Especially
Absolutely.
as you guys walk up Palani afterwards, like the next day. That was hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. See, I usually find going down is harder than going up the day after. It's like my quads just get beat up. So, yes.
No, I was just going to say we hired a car the day after to go and explore the island because we had one day to go and explore, and we had a Jeep, which I'm quite short, and so getting in and out of the Jeep was
Yep.
Yeah.
hard work.
Very
We had a Jeep
interesting.
the whole time we were there. We're like, yeah, this is going to be cool. And then we get there and we're like, I am never getting a Jeep ever for so many reasons.
Yeah.
But yes, it was very hot. It's like if you get your butt up first, then you can pull the rest of your body up.
I think The getting out was challenging because you just
Yeah.
sort of like, there's like this much space. I need to jump down.
Yeah. All right. On that note, why don't we wrap up? This is a long episode, but I didn't want to stop it. We had a great conversation. I truly enjoyed spending race week with both of you.
Thank you.
And Jen, this is our second time getting to experience World Championships together, which is fantastic. I hope we get more. Anyways, thank you both for coming on. It's been a wonderful conversation. I hope our listeners find this useful and interesting. And to our listeners, thank you for joining. If you don't already, please like and subscribe. Find us on social media and every streaming platform out there. And till next time. So thank you again.